That's good. So I can imagine how good you were at your job as well. Right?
Yeah, I was pretty.
All right, guys, as promised, I'm here with a friend and colleague of mine who is an excellent attorney, Dave Muncie. He is a partner here at Plaxton Adler Muncie, and they specialize in personal injury law. They do a lot of motorcycle accident cases. So if you are in need of a personal injury attorney for a motorcycle incident, you should call Dave. I highly recommend him. He's handled cases for me. He's handled cases for Michael in the
A lot of people,
This thing's got
it's a niche
600
bike,
miles
right?
on it.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a small market, but it's.
well, so this is the breakout kinda. Like
Yeah,
not that
100%.
many people
100%.
like I have told Mike that I bet you nobody else has ever put 90,000 miles on a breakout.
Right.
Like but this so people know about Ducatis. So my law partner rode a Ducati. But even as a Ducati owner, when I've like talked to him about them now, he's not like super knowledgeable about it.
Touring is less, it gives you all the power, but the throttle's not on and off. Like,
Yeah,
You might
I
like
probably
that
would
better.
do that. I probably would. Oh,
let me get the key. Because, so, if you do it on sport mode, what happens is when you lay off the throttle, it does the engine braking really hard, so it's jumpy.
oh, I don't even like the engine braking super high on this.
This is bad. So if I put it on tour,
Touring is a
then
little nicer.
it's smoother, but you can still get the 190 horsepower if you want.
You know, I could do a test ride on this bike, Darcy, for like the general YouTube population.
You go ahead.
Don't forget.
All right,
you
y'all.
deserve that.
So
Thanks,
guess
man.
what? We're on our tour, and one of the gentlemen on our tour, Darcy, who's actually this is his second tour with us, is gonna let me do a test ride on his bike.
Oh yeah.
So he rides this Ducati, and we're gonna interview him after we do the ride.
I'm sure you're gonna have some questions after the ride, right?
First of all, I will give you guys an honest review opinion, and then we're gonna interview Darcy about some of the specs and the bike and things in general. So,
Gas is
wait,
on the right.
before we go, this is. It's not really. Is it a sport bike, Darcy?
No, more of a sport tourer, they call it.
Okay. So I don't think I've done a review on a sport tour.
This will be the first one.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
It's in touring mode.
Hi guys, I'm Meg. If you're new to the channel, this is a moto vlog that follows me on my two-wheel journey. Cameraman comes along with me. In this episode of our journey, you will see me test ride a Ducati Diavel D4. It was awesome. If you are not a regular viewer of our channel, we do tours with various folks and we take them to cool motorcycle destinations. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It would mean so much to Michael and I. This is the bike, as you saw, of a gentleman named Darcy. He has been on 2 tours with us. He's actually a moto officer in Canada. He does motorcycle accident recreations, but he also does a lot of the slow speed maneuver training and slow speed skills. Darcy's a great rider, very skilled. We have really enjoyed having him on our tours. Last time he came with us, he had a different bike. He went with us on our West Virginia tour last year. This time he came down to the Tail of the Dragon with us on this Ducati. He and I were chatting about the bike and he offered to let me take it on a test ride. I have to say, I was not disappointed about really anything about this bike. I actually loved it. It was one of the most fun bikes I've ever been on. I would say, aside from my first real test ride on the Lowrider S, where Michael looked at me and was like, "That's your bike," this is probably my favorite bike I've ever ridden, which really surprised me, y'all. I have ridden sport bikes before. I have ridden fast sport bikes before. I've ridden leader bikes. I've ridden an R1. I rode an S1000R. A BMW. I liked this better than both of them. This blew them out of the water. As you heard me say, I have never ridden a sport tourer, so this was kind of a new experience. And man, I loved it. It was pretty comfortable for a bike that has that much power and that much torque. It was a comfortable ride. This thing felt like the fastest bike I've ever been on. I think the top speed is not the fastest. I think both the R1 and the BMW are faster, but the torque on this thing is insane. It shoots you out of a rocket. So you'll see a little bit later where I literally have to push my helmet back on because it's so fast that even though this helmet's very tight on my head, it blew a little bit back. The power is crazy, but I loved it. Now, it has that fat rear tire. It's actually the same size as Michael's Breakout. For those of you that are regular viewers, you will know that although we're not riding them in this video, Michael and I ride Harleys. Michael rides a 2017 Breakout, and I ride a 2020 Lowrider S. Michael's Breakout has a 240 back tire on it, and so did this Ducati. So I will say, I think probably the R1 and the BMW, as far as bikes with that kind of power, probably turn a little bit easier than this bike, but the technology on this bike is crazy. You'll hear some of my comments at the end of this review. The ability of this bike to, well, it has wheelie control. I rode it in touring mode. Michael and Darcy rode it in sport mode. I just did not want an accidental wheelie on somebody else's bike, but this has wheelie control. It actually has lean control, which makes it certainly smoother even with that fat rear tire. Guys, the sound on this thing is sick. It's disgusting. Like, I love the sound of Michael's bike. He has big radius Vance and Hines on his Breakout, and they have long been my favorite sounding exhaust pipes. But I will say the exhaust on this puppy was also very low and very rumbly and beautiful, and I loved it. So I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about this bike, guys. It was super fun, super fast, really smooth, just handled amazingly, and I am just so grateful that Darcy let me ride it. And y'all, if I had like tons of money, which I know some of y'all think that because I'm a lawyer I have tons of money, but I think you also forget that Michael and I have 6 kids between the two of us, and I have student loans, so I might not have as much money as y'all think, but I would love to buy this bike if I just had, you know, a cool 30 grand laying around. But man, one of my favorite bikes ever. Super fun, super torquey, just an awesome overall bike. Thanks, Darcy. This was so cool. let me test ride his bike. So Darcy, you want to tell us a little bit about this bike, the model, and some stuff about it?
23 Ducati Diavel V4. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles, right? Lots of horsepower and the auto blip shifter and cruise control. And the thing I liked about it is it's got the power, but it's still comfortable enough. The seating position is the mid pegs. The seat's wide and fairly comfortable, right? So that I can do some long distance, but then when we get to places like Tail of the Dragon,
It's fun.
Yeah, you can let it go, and it handles not quite like a super sport bike, but sporty enough to have that fun.
So y'all, he was telling me it's actually like a sport tour, not like a sport bike. And he's done some upgrades to it. These didn't come stock, right?
Correct.
So he's moved his blinkers here, which is actually really cool.
It's tight. Then he's got his exhaust.
Exhaust is there's the blinkers.
Oh, Michael, here's the blinkers. So pretty cool.
That is cool, actually. I like that.
And then you said exhaust is upgraded, right?
Exhaust is upgraded. It's a new exhaust.
So I will say, y'all, aside from Michael's bike, it's probably sound-wise my
pretty
favorite.
gnarly.
Yeah.
It's
so
very
I love that. When
aggressive
I rode
sound.
It's like really low and rumbly, and that was fun. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, it is actually pretty comfortable.
You rode it for about an hour and a half, right?
About an hour and a half, and even though it certainly shoots you out of a rocket like a sport bike, you're sitting in a more tolerable position. And you know, if I had a cool 20 or 30 grand lying around, I'd probably
Jump on something like this, huh?
Yeah, because it was like the best parts of a sport bike and the best parts of a cruiser sort of combined. I was expecting it to be very uncomfortable, but it wasn't. The only thing, and I was telling Darcy this last night, that I might do if I owned this bike is move the controls just a couple inches forward. But even so, this is so much more. One, I can almost flat foot on this bike, and you guys know I'm 5'2". Two, I'm not in the like rear control position where my knee is bent like that much on my knees. I'm old, guys. I'm getting old.
You're getting old.
And the bars come back a little bit, so you don't have to lean forward to push anyways.
Right. So that was awesome. I mean, all of the like features of this bike were super impressive, and all the different modes. So I had it in touring, although Darcy and Michael rode it in sport on the Dragon. They had some fun with that.
Oh, this thing flew on the Dragon.
But honestly, the quick shifter. So we have a quick shifter on the Honda, but I have to say the quick shifter on this is significantly more impressive.
Yeah, it's very, very smooth in comparison.
Shoots you out of a rocket. Super cool. So
this is the
played with
Ducati of Ducatis, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have ridden that other Ducati, and I have looked at a number of different ones. Actually, my law partner used to ride one, and him and I have talked about them. And I would say easily this one was my favorite. It was a nice ride. So Darcy's probably going to be selling this thing next year because he's moving to Costa Rica. I'm probably going to be looking for something more like the Transalp.
So if anyone's interested in a beautiful Ducati,
certainly,
shoot Meg a message and look me up. I will set you up. It's definitely I didn't want to go to a full bagger. I ride them at work and I like them. I didn't want to. I'm too old to do a full sport bike. Right, the knees and the wrists. So this is a really good sort of mix between the two.
But seriously, guys, aside from the Nightster, I think it's the only bike I've jumped on and been like, if I could buy another bike and I just had unlimited funds, this would be.
You one of them.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
That's it.